Hey everybody, KC here. So there was an interesting story over the weekend in the Washington Post about the launch of HBO Max, which HBO is going to great pains to point out it's not just another HBO. HBO maybe has a couple of thousand hours worth of programming, and HBO Max is starting out with 10,000 hours of programming. And everybody's not going to get it, although if you have HBO Now or HBO Go, I think you will be able to have access to it. And it's an interesting time for them to be launching a site like this. First of all, a lot of us are home, so they're counting on the fact that more people are going to be around and be able to watch television than in the past. But at the same time, there's an awful lot of competition out there. It seems like everybody and their brother is launching a streaming service. I don't know. What do you think? Morning News Beat? A Morning News Beat streaming service? Think that would be a good idea? I don't know. I'm not sure I can come up with 10,000 hours of programming. But what's interesting about it, I think, is how they're trying to differentiate themselves. And Robert Greenblatt, who is the CEO of HBO Max, says one of the things he wants to do is he wants to be more user-friendly in terms of providing choices. And one of the things he says to the Washington Post is, and I'll quote this, he goes, I don't want to criticize anybody, but there's a frustration in terms of other services with finding the content you really want. He goes, I scroll up and down, right and left on streaming services, and some of the things being served to me have nothing to do with me. And Nielsen tells us it can take people 9 minutes to find what they want on a streaming service, and that's an eternity. We feel there are things that we could do to make it more personalized. One of them is having human beings getting in there instead of endless racks of titles. Something like a section that's going to be called Recommended by Humans. And that's really, really interesting. And to me, that's a fabulous lesson for retail, right? I mean, again, and one of the things, he's taking some shots at Amazon there because, Amazon, everything is pretty much algorithm driven. And if they can kind of find a niche, a sweet spot where they seem to be more connected to what people want and kind of pulling things together in a more curated way, that might actually be an interesting approach. And I use Amazon Prime Video, I use Netflix, I use a bunch of these things. And he's absolutely right. Sometimes going through to find something you want can be a little difficult. And quite frankly, sometimes if you just want to watch an old Western, it's hard to find that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how they curate it. But again, I think that's a role that retailers can play in terms of their own specific niches in the marketplace. Is all you're doing is throwing stuff out there. Well, you're not really doing anything different than anybody else. You're not bringing anything fresh to the party. I think it's the retailers that are going to know their customers better and curate product, at least what's in the store. You can offer an awful lot more in terms of online, but who can curate the store in a more effective way. I think those are the ones that are, in the long term, going to be the winners because they're bringing something to the party. And that's always a critical thing to do. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this morning. And as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.